Hey everybody, and welcome back to Dude's Brunch, a podcast about pop culture and internet garbage served alongside a cup of black coffee. I'm your host Taylor Olmstead, and with me this week it's Tyler Reed. Tyler, what'd you have for brunch today?
Hey everybody, it's great to be back. Today for brunch, I had some delicious iced coffee and some Holtman's donuts. Cause then I went to go play Pandemic Legacy with a couple friends.
Sounds like a lovely Sunday.
Ish. Who've obviously never played Pandemic.
I have. I was being facetious. Sean Evans is here. Sean, what did you have for brunch today?
This morning I got up. Well, just to set this up, because this is actually a really abnormal brunch for me. I really needed to complete this running workout plan that I had. So I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I had 2 cups of coffee, an egg on toast, a piece of lemon cake, and a granola bar.
And then how far did you run?
Just 8 miles.
You got up at 4 to run 8 miles?
I had to go to work today.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense. You're forgiven.
Yeah. Thank you.
Emily Bamforth is here. Emily, what did you have for brunch today?
That was a very high intensity exchange. I had at about, I think it was like 11, I had pita bread and eggs and blackberries and some iced chai that I made with powder from Donkey Coffee in Athens, Ohio.
Everything about this story is delicious, except the pita bread, which I am very confused about.
It's the only type of bread that I had. Also, like, if you make egg sandwiches, putting them in pita bread makes so much sense because they don't fall out the other end.
Ooh, that does make sense. I'll have to try that. Well, for brunch this morning, I also had a fried egg on toast like Sean, and then I had a berry smoothie, which Sean hates. So, you know, it balances out. And also I had coffee.
What do you have against berry smoothies?
We've been over this. Sean thinks that yogurt is an abomination.
This is a subject for another time.
I did have a second brunch, too. Once I got done with my run, I came back, and Sarah and I went on a McDonald's date.
Oh, fuck yeah. That sounds great.
And what is your McDonald's breakfast order?
A number 12. It's oh my god. Go to McDonald's, you loser.
Well,
it's 2 breakfast burritos with an orange juice. Thank you.
Okay, I couldn't remember which number that was. I usually get a number 2, which is the sausage, egg, and cheese McMuffin.
You would.
How often do
You're like
you
the
go
most
to McDonald's?
basic bitch.
I go to McDonald's anytime I don't have groceries, which is usually about once a month.
That's right, because you only go to the store once a month.
You only go to the store once a month?
I go to the store like every week. This is really more in depth about my shopping habits than we
I
need
go
to
to the
be right
grocery
now.
store like at least 2 or 3 times a week.
Well, Sean, how many times a week do you go to the grocery store?
Oh, I'm with Emily. Probably on a slow week, twice. On a good week, maybe 5 times.
5 times?
Yeah, dude.
What do you get at the grocery store when you go there 5 days a week?
Just get whatever you need. I ran out of chips today.
It's
I go
there
get some
for
chips.
a reason, Taylor. Like, you don't have to...
So you're like a if I run out of something, go get it type of trip.
Yeah.
Like you're
no,
counting
and
those.
like Sarah and I, we've cultivated a nice relationship with some of the cashiers at our local grocery store. I should say that the only time that I've ever been like trusted by somebody to a high capacity was when we went to at our local Trader Joe's. We came up to the counter and we had like $70 worth of groceries, not even joking. And the register went down and the manager was like, oh yeah, he just like wrote it down on the back of a business card. He's like, oh yeah, next time you come in, just pay it.
Wow, that's trust.
That's good.
And we did. And he was like, wow, this is amazing. I didn't think that anyone ever would do this, but I appreciate it. I was like, yeah, dude, we owe you money. I felt bad. Like the whole week I felt like there was a weight on my shoulders. Like I need to go back and pay them for
I feel
these.
like Trader Joe's is a place that would do that. Like, I love Trader Joe's with all of my heart, and everyone there, like everyone who works there is like super sweet. And also, like, if you did not pay them, you would never get to go back to that Trader Joe's.
Yeah, the social shame would just prevent you from ever going there ever again. Tyler, how many times a week do you go to the grocery store?
Once. Ish.
Ish.
But no, I don't know. I've always been just kind of like a make a long list for the week and go once type of person. I'll go if I run out of essentials like bread, milk, or coffee. but otherwise it's usually only once a week.
Hey, Taylor, this seems like a conversation that people would have when they get married.
No.
Or
It would, but we're not to that part of the podcast yet, Emily. You just wait. That's called foreshadowing.
I don't know
Because we have something more important to talk about.
what.
Oh no.
We can't get to the main topic yet, Emily, because we have more important matters to discuss.
That's not true.
Mainly, how this podcast is the top post of all
Oh, God.
time in r/Nickelback.
Are you serious?
We did it, you guys.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
How many
Hold on.
upvotes?
All time.
I gotta get on Reddit.
Tyler, I'm gonna need you to make one of those fancy laurel wreath graphics for this
How did we
episode's
not-
thumbnail that says top post all time. It
You're
needs
so
to happen.
happy. This is insane.
I'm so thankful to all of our listeners and all of the Nickelback fans who upvoted my post in the subreddit promoting our latest episode, episode 101, Why We Hate
Is
Nickelback.
this r/Nickelback? Oh my god, there's only 140 people on this, you turd.
Doesn't matter, still counts.
There's 5 people reading it right now, and I promise you that 3 of them are us.
I don't have it open.
Tyler, do you have it open?
No.
Oh my god, one of them is me. Oh my god, there's 4 people on here right now. Oh my god, you know that we broke rule number 2. There's only 3 rules on this forum.
What's
What?
What's
I didn't even read the
two?
rules. What are they?
No, look, this is the first thing I wanted to see. Okay, so these are the rules. Rule number 1, no spam. Rule number 2, don't be a dick. Rule number 3, follow Reddit.
I think we actually did not break any of those rules. It's not spam because it's related to Nickelback. We aren't being a dick because we didn't say anything offensive about Nickelback in the link title, and we kind of defended them in a little bit in the show. And we followed perfect etiquette. I think we're totally in the clear.
How do we have 15 upvotes?
Our listeners are fantastic.
Is that who did that?
Yes!
I think it's because the last post was 14 days ago.
I'm just saying, let's all take a moment to bask in the fact that we are the top podcast of all time in the Nickelback
There's 16
subreddit.
upvotes now.
It's 16 upvotes. That's all it
There's
is.
16 upvotes.
Hey,
Hey, listen.
You
that's
didn't
like-
expect there to be that many Nickelback fans
That's
on
like
Reddit,
1
did
out
you?
of 10 people that have even visited this site.
That's true. That's a really good ratio.
Right?
That's really good.
1/10
ratio.
of all Nickelback fans have listened to this podcast. I
All-
think that's a win, you guys.
I'm happy for you guys.
We'll have to send Danny's certificate in the mail.
I'm gonna throw up.
Per Emily's foreshadowing earlier, we're here this week to talk about one of her favorite shows.
I don't know if I'd go that far. I think it's kind of a weird cultural, it's an odd duck, and that's why I like it.
So it's a reality show on Lifetime, something thoroughly out of our purview. And it's called Married at First Sight, which basically tells you everything you need to know about this show. Emily, do you want to take it from here?
Sure. Married at First Sight is in its 5th season. It originally aired in 2014. And Tyler just has his head in his hands. And it's like sad, but also weirdly satisfying that this show has driven him to this point. So I mentioned this on the 100th episode, or the 100. Was it the 100th? Yeah, it was the 100th.
It was the 100th, yeah.
And Sean said that he would watch it, and then everybody.
Beg Sean.
And then it spiraled into this.
And then it spiraled into this.
This is going to be a good topic, so screw you guys.
No, it is. It really is, because it's kind of the idea of the dating show, but taken one step further. So a bunch of people.
More like 12 steps further.
A bunch of people apply to get professionally matched with another person. And thousands of people apply to do this. And it's gotten even worse since the first season. If you look on the 3rd season, these huge hordes of people like come in to try and get on this show. And basically you get matched by like a spiritual consultant, like a sexologist, a dating coach, and a life coach, I think, something like that. And they match you with like your perfect match. And then the first time that you see them is when you're walking down the aisle to get married. And it is the weirdest thing that I had ever seen on television. And so automatically I had to watch it. We binge watched the first season when we were in college, and me and my roommates. And though the concept is extremely stupid, the show itself actually goes through like some very real issues.
What are you talking about? The concept is stupid.
The concept, and like, you think a lot of people write this show off because they're like, oh, Married at First Sight, they're making a mockery of marriage, which people do with The Bachelorette all the time. In The Bachelor, they're like, fuck this noise, like, they're making it, like, they don't really want to get married and like all this stuff, but these people seem to like legitimately want to get married. And so
How much more legitimately do you have to say that you want to get married to sign up for some kind of marriage lottery where you win, and then people use the power of science to find you what science and they think is a perfect partner,
and then marry you to them without ever having like a date or a conversation or anything?
I should be more specific. I shouldn't say science. I should say positivist techniques.
Yeah, it's not exactly science. But it does bring up a lot of thoughts, especially culturally. This comes at a time when marriage is something that isn't necessarily... It's still an institution, but people don't think about it very traditionally anymore. Dating has changed entirely, even more so after the show came out. And so it's just kind of interesting to think about. And so the whole thing is a big thought experiment. And you also get to watch these couples go through things like moving in together, like getting their finances together, meeting each other's families. And after, I think it's 90 days, they can choose to stay with the partner or leave them and get an annulment. And so that's where we see all the drama. So I had the dudes watch season 1, episode 4. 2 of them watched season 1, episode 4.
And Sean watched something else entirely.
Sean watched
That's
something
not
different.
true.
He watched the first year series, which is the couples from season 1 still, but it's like their first year of marriage after the show ends.
So it's technically season 2, episode 3 that Sean watched. For those of you playing along at home,
Yeah. So
You're not. Let's be honest.
let's do a little primer on the episode I had them watch. I didn't have them watch the initial episode because I feel like the first episode is you get to know the characters, but you don't really get to see them interact. So episode 4 picks up right after the honeymoon, and they're all trying to move in together. And so there's Courtney and Jason, who were like super attracted to each other when they saw each other. Jamie and Doug, who Jamie was not a fan of Doug when she first saw him. Like, she flipped out. And Vaughn and Monet, who like really like having sex with each other, but like fight all the time. So
Struggle's real.
the struggle's real. So this is a pretty intense episode, and not in terms of like explosive fights, but like it's heavy. So what did you guys think, or rather, I guess, what did Taylor and Tyler think when you first started watching this episode?
Well, I'm glad that you had us watch the 4th episode, because much like a children's anime, you could probably skip the vast majority of it, and it gets recapped within moments, and you're like, oh, I'm immediately caught up, so thank you for not wasting my time watching 4 hours of content.
to be fair, this also starts. There are nice little helpful banners that pop up that say Day 7 of marriage, which we started on day 7 and went to day 9. So I feel like in the grand scheme of things, those other 6 days really just don't matter.
It's not 90 days, it's 5 weeks, which I'm not sure if what that equates out to because I can't do math. 35
It's
days?
35 days.
Yeah, so significantly less time. It's 1/3 of the time, basically. Math.
So I think this episode is really interesting in that it does actually do a really good job of portraying a diverse group of people and a diverse group of living situations. And I don't know that it's necessarily trying to do that, but you have people who are a little bit more established and have their own places and are very tied in their ways. And you also have people that are young and live at home. And one guy who, got laid off from his job during the financial crisis and is living at home again in his 30s. And I thought that it was really interesting that I'm sure it was done on purpose, but that they picked people with such different living situations and backgrounds, because this episode you really get to see that tension where, somebody who's lived on their own for 5 years has to deal with the fact that their new husband is 31 and lives at home. Like, that was a very real millennial struggle that I'm surprised this show actually addressed. Granted, they addressed it in the most surface level way humanly possible, but it's a real struggle that they addressed. So, they have that going for them.
So, Sean, Courtney, and Jason, when they first got together, both of them were living not in places by themselves. Courtney lived in like a living room, and Jason lived with his mom because his mom was going through cancer treatment. And then Jamie and Doug, these are the two couples that Sean is familiar with. And Jamie and Doug was the one who had his job cut out from under him during the financial crisis. And Jamie was a nurse who had like her own place, but grew up in poverty. So she never wanted to like go back to not having her own place and not being able to pay for things.
It's almost like they paired these couples up based on which ones would create the most drama.
It's almost like that. And somehow like a lot of like Jamie and Doug, I've always thought are the most interesting pair because Doug doesn't have like his life together at the time of the show. But he has the potential to have his life together, and their families, like their family situation works out really well. Like she came from a really like tumultuous, like strained family situation and wants a big family, and Jason has the big family. So like you can tell some thought went into it.
Yeah, that was what was really weird about when I watched, because I knew, like, I kind of understood the premise. I didn't know that it was, like, all scientific how they did it, but, like, this whole idea that you would, like, I mean, it's right there in the title. I guess, for me, it was almost more interesting for me to watch and see what happened and see the struggles that they went through, because, like, I don't know, it just has, there was more for me that was interesting about that as a social scientist. Seeing how they actually ended up was more exciting for me.
So in the episode that you watched, can you give the listeners some context as to what's going on?
Okay, so in the episode that I watched, it really just had to do with Jamie and Doug and Jason and Courtney, and like they're both, what was the deal with Jamie and Doug? I think Jamie doesn't love Doug, and she's talking to her ex all the time, and Doug is like really confused about why all this is going down. He's like, I don't understand if she loves me. Jamie's like calling I forget who the woman is that she's talking to. It wasn't really clear. It was like already
one of
established.
the experts, presumably.
Or like maybe they're on their own pretty much after that, right? Like that first
Yeah, she was talking to a therapist or something.
Well, maybe it was one of the people then. I haven't seen the thing that you watched.
Okay.
So
But go ahead.
No, go ahead.
But she's talking to them and she's saying like, okay, well, I just don't feel that close to him, and it really seemed like from the episode that I watched that it was going to end. And I just checked on a post on In Touch Weekly, the only time I've ever looked at this website, from March of this year, and it says that actually, honestly, truly, it has like a lot of like of the couples that were in the series, and Courtney and Jason and Doug and Jamie are still married.
Yeah, and Jamie and Doug have a kid on the way.
Yeah, they do, which is really interesting. I think one of the things that I think that was what held her up, is that she said that her last this is Jamie, that her last relationship broke up because her boyfriend didn't want kids, but she really did, and that was what put it together. Because one of the poignant points that she made was that she broke up with him because that was one of the only things that split them apart, was that they differed on kids. And she, during this episode, she was looking at her relationship with Doug and saying, but I see that I don't really like Doug that much, and does having kids really matter that much to me if it means that I'm happy? And I was like, woo, like that's some really deep stuff right there. And then when you were talking earlier about Courtney and Jason, it was Courtney was going to move in with Jason at his family's house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was going to move in with him, and they were talking about how Jason didn't have this relationship with his dad and all this stuff. That's what I mean. It was almost more interesting for me to watch this part to see, like, if they were going to make it than it was to see if they were going to get married after 3 months. Like, okay, so the drama's in if they get an annulment, but, like, the long haul is that's what I want to see.
Yeah. I think it does touch on a lot of that. Like, obviously, all of it is very, like, sensationalized. Like, there's a lot of cutting where it's the most dramatic and that kind of thing.
Oh my god. So can we talk about that for a second, though? Let's not breeze past that, because I think it's really important. In high school, I lost a bet and had to watch an entire season of The Real Housewives of New York. This felt like that.
I mean, all reality TV shows feel like that.
But the fact is, I haven't really watched a reality TV show since my senior year in high school, when I watched one season of Real Housewives. And it's amazing to me how, like, I kind of forgot how solidified this format is. And so there's this scene in season 1, episode 4, where I think it's Jamie and Chris? Is that right? The names escape me.
Jamie and Doug?
Either way, Jamie and Doug. I think it's Jamie and Doug. But one of the couples is in the process of moving, and the husband opens this box and is like complaining about how she has so many clothes. And then they cut to him like pulling a whole like rat's nest of hangers out of another box. And he's like, I don't understand why anyone could ever own this many hangers. And then he just kind of like half-heartedly walks them over to the closet and is like, nope, I'm done. And just like throws all the hangers on the ground. But then in the next scene, she's like pouring glasses of wine for the two of them, and you can clearly see him hanging up all of the hangers that he just threw on the ground. And I'm like, I forgot how manufactured every bit of drama in this show is. Like, they even use that as a commercial cutaway clip, him throwing the hangers down. And I was like, oh, it's about to get real. It's about to get real. And then it totally didn't. And the one time...
Because it's not that big a deal. It's just a bunch of hangers.
I know, but the one time it actually got really real with... help me with names, Emily. The couple who doesn't make it.
Vaughn and Monet.
Vaughn and Monet. So the moment when it got really real with Vaughn and Monet, they didn't tease that at all in like the commercial break clips. And all of a sudden he just like goes off on her and is like... I need space and I need time to like be by myself and be in the quiet. And she's like, well, I don't understand why we're going to be married if we can't even spend time together. And she like storms out. And I was like, damn, this is like real drama. Why did they not emphasize this plot line? Like, this is way more interesting.
Right. And the worst part of the worst part about it is that this is what I talked to Catherine about, because she watched it with me, because God, I needed the strength to get through this.
Oh my God.
To be fair, Tyler's never watched reality TV, so...
I actually used, like, when I used to watch a lot of VH1, I did watch a lot of, like, stupid bullshit, like...
Surreal Life and all that stuff.
Real World and, yeah, Surreal Life and stuff like that. But anyway, I think that was actually one of the more interesting parts of the entire show, because it was such a clear example of, like, of people that are... That they have problems, and they're both legitimate, And the problem is like they don't know how to communicate their problems to each other, because Catherine kind of explains to me because she likes the about psychology or whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so the dude, he has a very he's very low social energy. Like he probably would. He said he's talking about how he spends a lot of time alone. He really likes to choose his social situations. He just needed to express to her that I would I just need a little bit more time, a little bit more time to get used to everything, and a little more casually acquainted to the situation, and and so he's I feel like there's a part in the episode where he's I need you to feel like we're actually like each other, we actually talking to each other, and so then she is going very into this. She's digging. She's talking so fast, just rapid firing about all these different topics, and it just goes off the rails so fast. And she's you said that I didn't do, I'm not doing this, and now I'm intensely doing this. And it's she said intense, and I was that's what it is. You need to scale it back just a little bit from him to get to his level, because he's obviously very low, very low energy in that way, very low social energy, and she's obviously very very extroverted kind of person. And so it's if they just sort of were able to navigate through that complicated social interaction, it would have been fine. But instead, it had ended up being, he was oh, just a fucking bullshit, and you're all right, it's over.
And of course this was filmed in 2014, so we know that it was in fact over, and they did in fact break up at the end of the series, right, Emily?
Yeah, they did. And a lot of people saw that one coming. It was very obvious. For reasons that I when I watched this again, and I watched the other one in 2014, and even with the time that I've had since then, I watched it with a completely different lens. And I was oh, they're not communicating. That's the problem. Whereas back then I was oh my God, these people are just awful. What is wrong with both of them? But yeah, I think Tyler is completely right. And you see a lot of that. These people haven't had time to work out how the other communicates. And that it's such a big deal. And I feel everybody on right now has different relationship situations and different relationship experience. How, with the background that you have or the relationship that you're in, how did you approach the first sight moving in together thing? What do you think about it?
So I was thinking about that moment in a dating relationship when you first bring someone back to your apartment or wherever you're living. And the commentators, the psychologist and all those folks mentioned this during the episode. They say there's a weird point when you show a significant other your space where you go from being nervous to being proud of where you live and showing stuff off. And as soon as they said that, I was oh yeah, that's totally an experience that I can identify with. And so I think the thing that makes this show interesting is things like that, where there are the nuggets of universally experienced parts of dating. The problem is that this isn't dating. These people are legally married during this show. And I think you're right, that premise kind of drives some people off, and it also makes the show unnecessarily awkward at some points. I think there are points where in any other normal relationship a lot of these couples would give up, but because they're already married they choose not to, which is kind of its own fascinating thing.
I mean, moving in with somebody is a hard thing to do in general. I've only really done this twice. Sarah and I moved in together, and then I went up back to Cleveland, and then we moved in together when we came here. I think, by and large, it really depends on, where you're at a particular time. I think the first time that we did at it, it was supposed to be temporary, but it ended up being, quite a long time. And it was, a particularly rough time for both of us because, she was doing something new and I was in between doing something, which is a good way to say that I wasn't doing anything. And like it got kind of hairy.
But do you think it's that thing that like Tyler was talking about, that like level of communication, like learning how to fight, that like gets people through those kinds of situations? Like, not like the absence of fighting. That's just something that I've always taken away from the show, is like these people lack the mechanism to have a disagreement and get through it. I am also seeing you choose your words very carefully, which is very fair. Because I'm like, please talk about all of your emotions in relation to this terrible reality TV show.
While your significant other is a room away.
I don't know if that's like the right answer, because I feel like it's probably way more complicated than that. I honestly wouldn't know. Maybe it's like you get to this point where you realize that there's going to be give and take, and there's like some points where you're just going to lose, and there's some points where you're going to win, and maybe you have to realize that at some point, like, because I don't think you ever really learn how to do that. Like, like it's kind of, that sounds like a kind of crazy idea for me personally right now, because it's like then you kind of just fall into this place and you kind of stop having a dialogue about it, and maybe you come to this understanding or this agreement that like, okay, this is how it's gonna work. But like, for the most part, I'm still new to this too. I don't want to even sound like I haven't got this down in any way, but like, you kind of, I don't know, you kind of just feel it out and see what's going on.
Yeah. And that is how I came in and made everybody talk uncomfortably about their feelings.
Hang on. Tyler didn't get to share his feelings yet. It's important that everyone get the opportunity.
Tyler looked...
At the end of the episode, I turned to Catherine and I was like, man, Catherine, I'm sure not ready to move in with you yet.
And what did she say?
I mean, I was like, I was just kind of like, I don't even have like a good fucking job yet. like I gotta get my own sexy right first. I also extremely don't give a shit about a lot of what my living space looks like, and she is very particular about it. So I have to get myself prepared for that at some point, which, in some ways I do. And she's very particular, and I respect that she's particular, and I appreciate that's particular, because I'm not particular in that way. We're a yin and a yang. I push her off the cliff, she pulls me back off the cliff. So we have a very, very push and pull kind of relationship in that way. And so it's like, it's going to take I moved out September of last year for the first time. So like, I still need to get a lot of things together for myself personally. So it's like, I'm not going to just rush anything. She's also got and I'm like, we're not obviously moving into your place right now, because it's not a space for two people to live in with as much knickknacks and stuff as we have.
So there were a couple of moments in this moving episode in particular where I feel like we see the cracks in this facade a little more than they intend us to. So examples are like, there are a number of scenes where the different couples are looking at new apartments, and all of the real estate agents are actual real estate agents who are super awkward on camera, as opposed to the couples who are used to it by this point. There's also a few moving scenes where they've obviously just gaff taped over the Home Depot logo on moving boxes. And I think that kind of stuff speaks to the meta narrative of this show of this is a reality show. These people know they're on television. They're doing things specifically to be characters on television, and they're being edited to fit storylines. And we all know that part, but here's kind of my question behind all of this. And it doesn't matter if this is true or not. I'm just curious about your thoughts. Do you think these people were paid to do this? And does that change how you perceive the show?
People never get paid as much as you think that they do to do these kinds of things.
I mean, even paid at all.
I think they
were they
probably
paid
got-
at all, and does it change how you watch the show?
I think they were probably paid a little bit. I don't think that they got it because on The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, they don't. Like, all of the dresses that the women have to wear are out of pocket. Like, that's an expense of coming on the show. You quit your job and come on the show. And basically, most of the money they get is after, when they get, like, gummy vitamin endorsements or, like... Or, like, they land a job. Like, Jordan Rogers now is, like, a sports commentator somewhere. Jordan Rogers was on The Bachelorette. That's context. I'm like, Jordan Rogers, obviously. Brother to Aaron Rodgers. But I don't...
Who's that?
Yeah, hockey. Tyler, you were just saying
go.
how much you love professional sports.
Tyler, no to sports thing.
But I don't think as much. I think they probably got paid a little bit. I don't think that they got any of the after stuff. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't really become celebrities in their right. And I think they probably got paid per episode, like the Teen Mom people. But I think that obviously it being a reality TV show and also like them being paid to do it, that's got to put some cracks in there, and it's got to be like, oh, like this isn't a like wholehearted attempt to reveal the struggles of marriage in a time where the institution is being challenged. Like, it's obviously not that intellectual, but I think that reality TV in general, some of it's completely thoughtless, but some of it is like, there's a reason that the genre has stuck around. Yeah, both of you don't really, like, all of you don't really watch reality TV, right?
No.
Not really.
Would you call working in retail reality TV?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, then yes, I watch a lot of it. It doesn't bother me that they don't get paid. I don't. It doesn't. I'm neither here nor there about that. I kind of hope they do get paid a little bit because they're on TV and they're like selling this show. I think they probably deserve it, and by probably I mean that they do deserve it if they're being marketed and everything like that. But like, I really feel like if you're volunteering for this and you really want this, and I mean, a lot of these people probably, you know, like, I don't know, we're all in our mid-20s now. We all know somebody, or maybe we feel that pain of like just wanting to end the aloneness, and we all see our peers, and I mean, they're all getting hitched and having kids and stuff like that. And I think there's pressure that surrounds our lives every day that you should be doing this kind of thing. Probably some of us more so or less so than others. But I mean, part of me, I don't really blame these people, you know, like if that's, I'm not going to say that the organic way of finding a partner is the best way to do it, you know, like however you want to define what the organic way is, you know, but like it's funny that the first season the two of the couples made it, and then every season after that no one else does. And I kind of wonder if it's because the original people that came on the show really actually wanted to make it work versus it just being some kind of like, I saw it on TV and that would be cool. You know, like they were really kind of in it to win it, you know?
Yeah.
Win it being nothing aside from, I guess, a happy marriage.
And a meaningful life and everything that comes with it. Yeah, Tyler, nothing.
Not even $1 million. Fuck, and just give me.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is you're bothered by the fact that they do or don't earn money. You think that money is a key component here?
I mean, I don't know how I feel, because it's just like, hey, man, I sure am a lonely person. I feel like I kind of would just get married to a random person, because frankly, I don't want to deal with it. So I just go on a reality show, and I just get someone that's cybernetically paired with me forever, and then, you know, we you have a happy life. I mean, I don't know. It just feels so like you feel like you would need money if you weren't like, I don't know, invested in a relationship anyway, because there's a reason they're all on there.
You're making this sound like Uber for marriage.
How is that not
That
a thing?
sounds about right.
Uber for marriage.
Why is there not an Uber like speed dating? Is my question. Like there should be.
Literally,
because it would get
literally
really sketchy
speed
so fast.
dating.
Like not
I mean-
actually Uber, but
Any
You
Uber
have
service
the
could
you
be
have
speed
the
dating if you
ride
want it to
from
be.
your apartment to the nearest dive bar to decide if you want to spend the rest of your life with this person.
new reality TV show. Go.
It's like Cash Cab, but for dating. So the whole time I was really distracted by kind of the meta reality TV part of it, and I was really thinking about like, are they paying to be here? Are they getting paid to be here? What is the money transaction if there is any? Because I think Jamie and Doug, or no, not Jamie and Doug, sorry, burlesque dancer and EMT.
Crap. Hold on. Courtney and Jason.
I feel like Courtney and Jason remind me of a real couple that I know in my actual life.
Oh no.
But the other two couples just didn't for me. And I don't know if it was like a weird cognitive bias thing. But for the other two couples, I was like, it just feels like somebody should be giving you some money to do this, because this seems totally outlandish and ridiculous.
You're like, I
And-
don't want to date a schmuck.
Yeah, as soon as she said, I don't want to date a schmuck, I was like, this, you're getting paid. Like, this is weird. This just feels skeevy to me. But then Sean brings up a good point that those two couples are the only couples that have made it over the course of the whole show, and they were in season 1. And I think you do see that in these three couples, is that they all, like, kind of, almost with, like, a charming naivete, feel like they're going to make it through this. Like, even Vaughn and, I can't remember his name, or her name, Vaughn and Monet. Even Vaughn and Monet have their moments where they're like, we're going to make this work. And I feel like that's really charming. And so I understand where you're coming from, that, like, the novelty of the first season, maybe these people weren't getting paid and they really thought that this was actually going to work. But I don't know. Something about it just totally, like, killed my suspension of disbelief.
I mean, if I was also getting $1 million and I had to marry a stranger, I'm like, yeah, that's like that could be worse.
I googled it real quick, and apparently they say they get paid like next to nothing for this. Like they really don't get paid that much. They do get paid, but not a lot.
It's like
It makes sense.
$25K.
There were rumors that it was $100,000, which like
Fine, I'll fuck it.
you can do anything for 30 days for $100,000. That's terrible to say. Yeah, that's bad life advice. But it's not 100,000. It's much less. But yeah, I don't know. It does feel it feels a little organic at points. Tyler, were there any of these couples that you actually thought these people would work out if left alone with no cameras? Like, you don't watch reality TV, so, like, it's not a normal thing for you to be like, oh, yeah, like, da-da-da-da-da, like, obviously, they're going to work together in the format of the show.
You're right. I love gamifying relationships. It's my favorite part of life.
But you see, that's what I'm, like, was there ever a moment where you were like, oh, yeah, like, those two people could actually, like, be together?
Oh, the ones that ended up getting the annulment. God, Vaughn. So what? I feel like if they were on camera, they probably would have figured their shit out. But it's like they probably had a lot of pressure. I mean, just from the single moment of like he was like feeling stressed out about like meeting a bunch of friends for brunch. I feel like is like a situation that was easily blown out of proportion. That I feel like was only magnified through camera people being there.
Wait, so you mean an introvert who doesn't want to go to brunch might also not like a bunch of camera people being in his new home? Wow, what a novel concept. Continue.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Also,
Bye.
it made me really happy that I don't live in New York because they were like, "Oh, $3,000 for this tiny
A
apartment."
one bedroom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like it was awful.
Please give me a closet for $1 million. I would really appreciate it.
It was really bad. Like Sean, they were like looking at like lofts, like studio lofts, and they were costing like 2,500.
Of 2014 money.
I don't even have anything to say about that.
They were like, yeah, it's you can't yeah, New York's getting pretty expensive. You can't just just. It was like, yeah, you're telling me in 2014 it was getting expensive.
So we'll go around the podcast here, and everybody can answer this one. Would you rather go on to a reality show about your personal life, something like Married at First Sight, or one of the traditional like competition style shows, whether it's an America's Got Talent or an American Idol or something like that, where you have to like perform for people?
Does Survivor count?
No, Survivor doesn't count because it sits somewhere in between where it's like both performance and personal
Oh my
life.
fucking god.
Yeah. So you either have to be on like a personal life show about like dating or like one of these sorts of things, or some kind of performance competition show. Which one would you want to do?
I was gonna say Big Brother until you ruled that one out because my parents watched that show, and I think it would be nice if they could see me on TV.
I mean, and that's a show about fucking nothing.
I think Big Brother counts as personal life.
Oh yeah, that's fine then. I'll go on Big Brother. I don't like Julie Chen, but
I don't like Julie Chen either, but that's fine.
I don't think she's a good of a host. I mean, you don't really need a host for Big Brother though. It's pretty much just
A montage of people in a house.
yeah, right. A pretty point and record interface.
Emily, Tyler?
I don't have talent that can be described that can be. I would rather do the personal one because I would just end up like a blooper on one of the other ones. So that's my way of saying I can't go on a talent show because I don't have performing talents.
Presupposing you had some sort of quality that people found worthy of qualified as a talent.
No, that's not true. That's not true because then you could just go on the Gong Show.
What's the Gong Show?
Don't you worry, we're doing an episode about it next week.
Okay. If I had talent, probably the talent one because it would take like 2 seconds. And you would be like...
Unless you keep getting voted on to the next round.
And you'd be like showcasing something that you're proud of. But besides that, like either personal life or nothing because I can be a person pretty easily.
If time has proven anything, it's that Emily Bamforth is capable of being a person.
It's true. Tyler?
It's actually fairly difficult.
I mean, are my choices fucking around for like a couple months and then maybe getting some money, or working really hard and then suddenly failing and then not being on a reality show anymore after like a week? If that's my two choices, I mean, I guess I'd rather one where I just fuck around for a while.
I wanna do a Big and Rob type show with Tyler.
God, that would
watch
be hilarious. I would watch the shit out of that show.
That'd be so good.
People, let me tell you about my best friend. He's got a short sleeve shirt with dark shades on it, yeah.
Oh,
People,
yeah.
let me tell you why he's so much fun. Whether we're talking man to man or we're talking son. This is the second time I've done this song on the show, just for the record.
See, I'm gonna go the opposite route from Tyler. I don't want to do that prolonged like personal reality show. It just seems a little too awkward. I feel like if you get recognized for one of those shows, it has a weirder connotation. Like if you're recognized on the street. So I would rather like, go on a talent-based show and fail than be on a personal life show and like
Succeed.
have people either way, even if you succeed or fail, like have the reputation of being like, oh yeah, weren't you on The Bachelor? That just feels like ickier than
didn't you
being on
fail on
America's
American
Got
Idol?
Talent. I feel like that feels less gross to me. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's right. Tell William Hung that.
Hey man, William Hung got a big ass record deal with a lot of money, so you know what? He's making bank.
I mean, to be fair, there's such a low barrier to entry for, like, actual, like, legitimate singing talent. They have hundreds and thousands of people that perform just good enough that they can be in a band or they can sing a fucking, like, jingle or be in a commercial. It's like, it's...
Yeah, I think my odds are better in that one. I'm going performance route.
Oh, yeah, let's have a social media challenge.
Did you get to go, Emily? Did you say
I
which one?
said probably the personal one because I don't have any talent.
Oh, that's right.
I think the competition would be everyone chooses an animal, and then they have to pimp the shit out of their animal on a Twitter account. And whoever gets the most followers after...
Taylor's face right now is my favorite thing.
Dibs on baby giraffe.
I was imagining a podcast-based reality show where you basically just compete to be the next host of This American Life against Ira Glass, and everyone always loses.
It's like Beat Bobby Flay, but for the podcast world.
It's like, how soft can you whisper and sip coffee? Not softer than Ira Glass. I'm sorry, you have to leave.
Quietly, to smooth jazz.
All right, it's time to round the show out with some shameless plugs from our wonderful panel of podcasters, starting with Tyler Reed. Tyler, if people want to vote you off the island, where can they do that?
Hey everybody, we talked about some stupid fucking bullshit today, so we're not even going to worry about internet garbage. That being said, hey, you can find my design or illustration work at tydreed.com, and you can find me at socials as TDRZon on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks a lot. See you next week.
Sean Evans, I'm sorry, but you've been gonged. Where can the people make fun of you?
They can find me on Twitter or Snapchat at sevans8910. That's sevans8910.
And my last rose goes to Emily Bamforth. Emily, where can they find you?
Well, first I want to say thank you guys for sticking with me on maybe one of the most awkward episodes of Dudes Brunch that has now ever existed. You might find me back here, but probably not after this particular debacle. But I do work with Taylor on a significantly less awkward show sometimes called 10 Minute Tech Talk, where we talk about all the tech news you need to know in 10 minutes. So you can find us on TMTT Pod, or you can follow me at Emily M. Bamforth on Twitter.
Well, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram as at TC Olmstead. And of course, you can like and follow the show on Facebook and Twitter. We are at Dudes Brunch. You can subscribe to the subreddit r/StudesBrunch. And if you really like us, you can leave a review on iTunes because it helps people find the show. Other than that, thanks so much, and we'll see you next time for more brunch.
Marriage is what brings us together today.